When I replay the conversation now, it feels less like a family discussion and more like a press briefing. My parents had invited me down to Manchester on a Sunday afternoon. Tea was poured. Biscuits were arranged. My father cleared his throat the way he used to before announcing exam results or holiday plans. "We've sold the house," he said. The semi-detached on Alderley Road had been theirs for 32 years. The hallway still had pencil marks from when Daniel and I were measured for height every birthday. I waited for context: downsizing, retirement plans, a bungalow near the coast. Mum reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "It's time for a new chapter." The new chapter, as it turned out, was Daniel's. They'd used nearly all the proceeds to help him purchase a two-bedroom flat overlooking the canal at Safford Quays. Floor-to-ceiling windows, concierge, underground parking. "It's an investment," Dad said. "Property only goes up." Daniel, who had left 2 jobs in as many years because they were stifling, had always needed a boost. I'd always needed less. I asked the obvious question. "Where are you living?" Mum smiled almost indulgently. "With you, of course. Just until we figure things out." It wasn't framed as a request. It was a transition plan. I remember staring at the steam rising from my mug. I'd bought my place in Leeds 5 years earlier. A modest 3-bedroom semi near Roundhay Park. Fixed-rate mortgage. Small garden. Nothing glamorous. It had taken me a decade of careful saving to get there. "I don't have space for 2 extra people long-term," I said carefully. Dad waved a hand. "We won't be any trouble. You've got that spare room. And the office." "That's where I work," I replied. They exchanged a look, the kind parents use when a child is being difficult but doesn't realize it. "Families support each other," Mum said softly. "We supported you." I didn't argue. I drove home that evening with a tightness behind my ribs that wasn't quite anger. It was recognition. My role had been reassigned without my consent. Over the next week, messages came in practical tones. Dates, removal quotes. A note about how Daniel needed stability to grow into responsibility. My refusal, when I repeated it, was treated like a scheduling hiccup. "I'm not comfortable with you moving in," I said over the phone. There was a pause. "Don't be dramatic," Dad replied. "We've already arranged the sale. Completion's Friday." It dawned on me then that they hadn't miscalculated. They had assumed I would bend. I spent an evening reading about lodger rights and occupancy laws. If they moved in and established residence, removing them would not be simple. The thought made my chest feel hollow. On Friday morning, my maid texted me while I was working upstairs. "Do you know there's a van outside your house?" I looked through the bedroom window and saw it, white, hired, hazard lights blinking. Mum stood on the pavement directing 2 men toward my gate. Dad was already lifting a box from the back. I went downstairs slowly. When I opened the front door, Mum beamed. "Surprise. We thought we'd get ahead of traffic." "You can't move in," I said. Dad stepped forward as if I hadn't spoken. "Let's not do this outside." One of the movers hesitated, box balanced against his hip. I said no. I repeated. Mum's smile faltered. "We have nowhere else to go." "That was your decision." The words tasted harsher than I intended, but they were true. Dad shifted, attempting to step past me into the hallway. It wasn't violent. It was confident. Assumptive. The way someone enters a room they believe belongs to them. I stepped back inside and closed the door between us. Through the wood, I could hear Mum's voice rising, indignant now. "You can't lock us out. We're your parents." My hands were steady when I picked up my phone. I explained to the operator that 2 individuals were attempting to enter my property against my wishes. I used neutral words. Trespass. Forced entry. The waiting felt long, though it couldn't have been more than 12 minutes. When the police car pulled up, it did so without sirens. Just quiet authority. 2 officers stepped out, high-visibility jackets, notebooks already in hand. Dad's posture shifted immediately. He moved from the doorway to the driveway, gesturing animatedly. I opened the door when one of the officers knocked. "Are these your parents?" she asked. "Lass. And you've asked them not to enter?" "Les." She nodded once and turned back to them. I didn't hear every word, but I caught enough. "Without permission. Private property. Could constitute an offense." Mum's face went pale in a way I'd never seen before. Not angry, not hurt, uncertain. We're family, she said to the officer, as if that should override paperwork. The officer's tone remained even. That doesn't change the law. The movers began quietly returning boxes to the van. There was no shouting. No dramatic collapse. Just the slow procedural dismantling of an assumption. Before leaving, the officer handed me a small slip of paper with an incident number. Call us if there's any further attempt to enter without consent. I thanked her. The van pulled away. My parents' car followed. The street returned its ordinary Saturday quiet. A dog barked somewhere down the road. A curtain twitched next door. Inside, the house felt different, not warmer, not colder. Just clearly, that evening, my phone filled with messages. Words like humiliation, disrespect, heartless. Daniel texted once. You've gone too far. There's no triumphant ending to this. Christmas will be complicated. Relatives will choose sides. My parents are staying temporarily with an aunt in Bolton, which I learned through my cousin rather than them. Sometimes, I sit at the kitchen table and wonder if I've permanently fractured something that can't be repaired. But the mortgage payment leaves my account each month under my name. The spare room remains an office. The lock on the front door turns smoothly. I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel powerful. I felt steady. For the first time, that was enough.